Hello, my name is Massimo Sammi. I'm a composer and orchestrator here in Los Angeles, and I'm just wanted to make a quick video about the new feature that can be found in Digital Performer 11, the articulation maps, and particularly their application with Cinematic Studio Strings library, which we'll use as an example for a short passage. And we're going to examine a little bit how the articulation maps work and how to use them, particularly with this library, but also having an overview of how they work in general. So I'm going to play this passage and we'll take a listen, then we'll go in more detail. Okay, so if we open this in the media editor, we can see that as usual we have our piano roll, but we have this new lane, I would say layer, since we are in the media editor. They're also in the sequence editor. I happen to use them here, but we can maybe do another video next time where I show them in the sequence editor as well. But the interesting thing is that basically we are able to, as we can see right away, have a clear representation of the different articulation that are given to the single notes. So in this case, for example, the majority of the notes are legato, then there are some shorts, and finally some pizzicatos. And so the way we can set up the articulation maps is very simple, because basically the way the articulation maps work is some sort of very intelligent form of key switching. Rather than having the key switches all over the place, down, out, where they can actually be seen, the articulation maps allow us to have everything in a more organized way, and not only that, but to easily switch the different articulation by setting in a very fast way and attributing the articulation to a specific set of notes. And the way they work, there is the remote section, the name section, obviously, and the output section. The remote section is actually the physical output that we use on our remote controller, or could be a MIDI controller. I happen to use the CMC PD pad controller, which is currently out of production, but it's nice because you have 4 lanes. It's a 4x4 kind of settings. So basically, generally I find that up to 16 articulation, that's pretty much plenty in order to achieve most of the orchestral writing without going too crazy. And the advantage of that is that I can easily, for example, in my case, I have legato, marcato, and spiccato, which are the most useful one, next to each other in C-2 and D flat -2. The thing is this, that when I trigger in Cinematic Studio Strings, the key switches are velocity sensitive, which means that whenever I trigger the tile corresponding to the shorts, which is F0, according to the velocity with which I hit that key switch, a different kind of sample gets triggered. So in this case, the articulation maps are incredibly useful because they can send a message that it's both related to the node of the output, but also the velocity. For example, if I click a D flat -2 on my pad controller, out from Digital Performer into Vienna Ensemble Pro, the signal that actually gets sent is an F0 note with a velocity of 30. That specific velocity, there is velocity range, but that specific velocity triggers the spiccato sample. The same thing happens, for example, if I want to trigger a staccato, I will send an F0 key switch with a velocity of 90. This is incredibly helpful because in a very clean and organized way, I have all these articulation onto one track and I can easily switch them. And we'll see how to do that right now. So basically, let's say in this passage, I know that most of the notes are long, or legato. I can easily select all of them. I have basically a key command now for set articulation. And I can, say, okay, most of them are legato marcato. I'm going to just, set them to the general articulation that we'll be using. Then I can surgically go and isolate the notes that I want to be short. And in this case, they are basically these ones. And again, I can recall the key switch for set articulation, can go spiccato. And the same thing here, for example, they're still pizzicato, I didn't change them. And of course, there might be some sort of editing involved, could be either velocity mod wheel or volume, but basically that's just minor editing compared to the work we will have to go through if we had to go basically one note at a time with key switches, or put in all these notes. Oh, I forgot, these are supposed to be trills. So I select trills, and if I had to do this on separate tracks or with key switches, it would be very, very time consuming and not very efficient. In this way, I'm able to do things very, very fast. And not only that, but whenever I orchestrate from a piano sketch, if I do a piano sketch of the piece, which I generally do, let's say I want to do the same thing and I want to copy that, I might very well write something like that on a piano part. Then all I have to do is to select it, and I can copy it either to the oboes or to the flutes. And basically by doing that, I can do it very easily. I don't need to jump around a lot of different tracks, but I have everything nice and organized on one track, and then I can change the articulation in more detail. And I hope this was useful, and feel free to let me know if you have any question, and thanks a lot.